Hello, everybody. Welcome to the 45th sprint demo session. No, that's not actually not true. Welcome to the next sprint demo session of Thoth Sprint 45. That's true. We're going to show you a few short demos, and Francesco's going to first and last, I guess, right?
Yes.
Have fun.
Thank you very much. So hello, everyone. The topic of today is a new feature that we introduce in the workflows to handle the unresolved packages. And let me share the screen. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes, I see your white screen. Yes.
My white screen.
That's a very white screen.
Yeah. So this is just to explain what is doing, for example, in an advisor workflow, what is happening right now in a nominal case. So when everything is working, which is most of the time, of course, successfully. So basically a user have a request with one of the integrations. In this case, we can talk about the Kebehet one. So you open up a request and then user API will trigger an advisor workflow. So if everything is successful, advisor will produce the advice. The trigger finish webhook task will send back the check run, and GraphSync will basically sync everything to the database. And at the same time, the Argo workflow sync on Ceph. But what happened when we basically have some missing information in the knowledge of Thoth that don't allow to have this advice? So if you follow this, starting again, you open up a request through Kebehet, and then advisor will be triggered. In this case, there is a new task that we introduced, and this task basically will generate a message through Kafka, which is called unresolved package message, and it will go to investigator. So investigator is the component that takes care of all these Kafka messages in Thoth and schedule or do some action accordingly to depending on the message. So what happened in this case, when there is unresolved, you want to solve a workflow. So what happened is a solver workflow is scheduled. And in this case, there is a solver run that is synced to the database, and when only after everything is synced to the database, so we know that that is available for Thoth. If you run again advisor, if we imagine that only one package, for example, in the latest version was missing, we just solve it, we sync it to the database. And how do we reschedule advisor in this case? So there are two new, let's say, blocks, which are four tasks. So one is related to the solved, because first of all, once a solver is finished, we want to send a message back to say that that package has been solved. And in this way, we can also increase the knowledge of Thoth for other things like the security that you want. So in this case, you see that solved package message goes back to investigator, and a security workflow will start. And again, after we collect the knowledge for security, we store on Ceph and on the knowledge graph. And this is the last part we had to add to finish this loop, which is these two new tasks. So this one is basically checking the package that has been solved, and then talk to the database to check if there were advisor run which had unresolved packages, and if they find match for the advisor run and for the number of packages, for the package that has been solved, then in this case it will send a message which is called advisor rerun message, and investigator, taking all the inputs from the initial request, will reschedule advisor. So the same advisor, just that now we know that the knowledge has been acquired, and so Thoth will not fail for sure. So that's the new feature and the new thing we introduced. This is all already in place, and thank you. This is, if you have any question, please ask.
Could you drop the URL to that diagram into the show notes?
Yes. Yes.
Thanks.
And do we place it somewhere in the documentation, or do we want it somewhere?
Yes. I think with most of the repositories we have a docs document where we drop diagrams to, and maybe we should link it from the README just to explain what. Maybe we should link it from the investigator README to explain how it works. Yes.
I mean, it's also going to be part of the what we're doing with Kevin. So in the blog, we will explain all of that more in detail. That's it. First topic.
Cool. Thank you. Another topic?
Yes, though we don't change the topic recording.
As I said,
okay.
One shot.
Sure. So let's go back. So the second part, I can start. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's related to the datasets. So we have an update for some of the work that has been done together with Frido. Yes, so let me share the screen. Can you see my screen? Yes.
Yes.
So I will talk about one example that we have that basically allowed us to create new advices, a new type of advice. First of all, we refactor a bit the dataset repo that we have. So first of all, you see that now there are classes of datasets. Before there was just one, but now we have many more datasets. So I divided the README in the three main classes that we have. And if you open each of them, some of them have been updated with the new versions. So you see that there is a version 2 for some of them because we changed some way of storing the data. So this was required to allow these changes. And so now I also introduce some example of what we can do with this data. And if you want to play with these notebooks, you can see what is in these results. The same for the performance dataset and for the solver datasets. But what I want to talk to you is one specific case that we added, which is this one related to TensorFlow in version 2.1.0. And so what we did initially, Frido created, I'm sure he will talk more about this. I will just say that Frido created this new component or new part of Thoth, which is called Dependency Monkey Zoo. And here there are all the configuration that basically used to generate the inspection results. So Frido here is collecting everything that we run. So we also have, let's say, a way to know what has been run, and we can rerun it for reproducibility. And so from this, there was one thing that we wanted to start looking at, which was this TensorFlow in version 2.1.0. And what we found out, sorry, I think it was this issue. Yes. So what was the request was to have a look at these preliminary inspection results and to have a look at what was happening in terms of performance. And what we found out actually during this analysis of this first inspection, dependency monkey run, which has all this inspection, that many of them were failing for some reason. And so what we did was starting to have a look more into details on why that was failing. So we were looking at comparing the versions that were successful and which were not successful. And what we found out is that there were some versions that were present only in the failed inspection and not in the successful inspection. And this was happening at runtime, not during the builds. So that this was something that we wanted to dig a little bit more. And then when we decided to have another analysis, to have a look just for two specific version, basically. So because we saw that the issue was between the 6 package and the URL lib3. So we rerun it. And this time we repeated just for this subset. And indeed, we were able to identify basically the version that were failing. And because of this, there was created a new advice. I need to find the new issue. So there is a new advice that was created, and this was related to this analysis that we performed. So thanks to this, now we can basically discard or tell to the user to discard this version of TensorFlow or to reduce the score for this version because there is this known issue that Thoth have been able to identify, and this will allow us to basically produce better advice on these kind of things. Yes, that's it. Here you can find basically all summaries and the two analyses that have been performed and the results of this analysis. Maybe I will add also the link to the advice that have been created with the justifications. That's it. Thank you. Any questions?
No. Great. Thanks. I typed a little bit of text into the show notes. Please add a few links because I think this basically shows one of the core ideas of Thoth. We are creating software stacks based on very deep knowledge of the software stack and its behavior, not only based on version numbers that we compare to some pattern. So it's a really good example of, there's a problem. We see that problem. We have Jupyter notebooks exploring the problem. We have data sets which we use as recording of the problem that we have observed. And we can create a step of an advisor pipeline that helps software developers to work around the problem. Or if we tell the story in a different way, it is that Kebeshet junior developer, that cyborg team member that is gaining more and more knowledge that can be applied in an automated way to software stacks. So therefore, I think it's a really good example. It's a little bit of human beings invest a lot of time. Now that we have automated this kind of knowledge, or that we have included this observation in our knowledge graph, we can apply it automatically to all the other repositories in the world. I think that is really a very good story. Cool. Any other demos up for this sprint? No. Thank you very much for all the stuff. I'm gonna send around an email with these show notes and the link to the recording. Gonna publish it on the YouTube channel. Thanks for all the energy. Stop recording now.